Hello and welcome. Tarmo Ramel here, and I'm going to show you how to insert figure captions into a Microsoft Word document and then very quickly produce a list of figures. So let's get started. I have here a document full of random text, and what I want to do is insert some figures into this document. Now normally you would have figures that relate to the work that you're talking about, but just to illustrate things, I'm going to head over here to the Insert tab. I'm going to head over to Pictures, and I'm going to choose some stock images. So I'm going to let this thing load for a second. I'm going to see what we have here. Okay, we have a glass of wine. Let's insert this thing. Click Insert. It's going to be really large. So let's take one of these handles here and make the image just a little bit smaller so that we can see things on the screen a little bit better. And I'm going to put it into my document at this location. And I'm going to hit Enter, put a space nicely before it and after it, give it some space. I'm going to hit another Enter there to give it room for a caption. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this tab and I'm going to slide it off to the left-hand side, and I'm also going to hit backspace over here to make sure that the caption is nicely off to the left side. Then I'm going to select the figure, I'm going to right-click on it, and under Wrap Text I'm going to make sure that it says In Line with Text, which means that as I move, add, edit, delete text, that the figure will move around properly with the text and not be left somewhere because it was allowed to float on top of the text. Now that I'm satisfied with that, generally we center our figures, so I'm just going to simply under the paragraph tools here select center. It's going to nicely center the figure on the page for me, left to right, and now I need to add my actual caption. So I'm going to head down to the line directly below the figure. Remember, captions for figures are below the figure. Captions for tables are above the table. And instead of typing in here the caption, I'm going to head up to the References tab, and I am going to insert a caption from here. And it starts off and it says, well, options, I'm going to insert a figure, but we could very easily use equations or tables, but I'm going to create one for a figure, and I'm going to put in here figure 1, period, wonderful glass of wine, period, and I'm going to hit OK. Now notice you could create different labels, so if you need something that's not figure, table, or equation, you can create your own here, but we're simply going to go with figures for the time being, and I'm going to hit OK. And there it is. My caption is inserted below the figure. The issue here is that the color, the format of the caption doesn't match that of the body text. And in some cases that's fine, but sometimes they're very particular about what this style or formatting needs to look like. So I'm going to show you how we can change it globally so that it's always going to be the same, so that when we insert additional captions that they're going to come out correctly. So let's head over to the Home ribbon. Notice that we have this whole section for styles. And if we hit this down button here, all of the current styles that are available to us in this document appear here, and caption is currently highlighted. So we're going to right-click on caption and head over to Modify. This is going to modify the style that is called caption, so that every time that we use caption, it's going to have this style. First thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to change the size to be the same size of font as the body text in my document. I'm going to remove the italics, and I'm going to then change the font to be black and not some kind of dark gray. Then I'm going to hit OK, and notice that this caption is now properly styled the way that I want it to be. So this is great. I've got one figure inserted. Let's go add a second figure, let's say here in our document. So head up over here to Insert. I'm going to choose another picture from stock images. And we've got a whole series of different options here. What's a good one? Okay, someone playing the piano. Let's hit Insert. Again, it's going to place it here, perhaps a little bit too large. It bleeds the margins of the page. I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. I'm going to move the margin off over to the left. I'm going to click on the home ribbon. I'm going to center it left to right on the page. I've already got an extra space nicely above the figure, one below, but I need one space for the caption. I'm going to set this off to be on the left-hand side of the page, and I'm going to go back up to the Ribbons tab, Insert Caption, and now notice that it already knows that I'm inserting Caption 2 because I'm inserting it after the first one. So it will automatically number our captions for us so that we don't have to keep track of where we are. So number 2, playing the piano. There we go. And I hit OK. And notice that the style of the caption is the way that we set it up in the style for captions. So this is great. We've got 2 figures, 2 captions. They're properly numbered. And now we've done this, let's say, for 20 or 30 figures, and we're ready to create a table or a list of figures at the beginning of our document. So I'm going to scroll all the way up to the top here, and I'm going to give some space for myself to put in a list of figures. Type in a title. Normally I would use a style for this, but for the time being I'm just going to type it in manually. And then up under the References tab, we're going to head over here to the Insert Table of Figures option. And when we do that, we can choose different styles. The default is usually quite good. We're going to hit OK, although we can play with things and adjust them here. We're going to hit OK, and notice that it automatically pulls the captions and it indicates the page numbers that they're on. So it's not really useful if we don't have page numbers in our document, so we can quickly go back to Insert and head over here to Page Number and choose one at the bottom of the page. Let's put page number down here. So we've got these page numbers. So we have a glass of wine on page 4 and playing the piano on page 5. So let's ensure that that is indeed correct. I'm going to scroll down here. This is page 4. There's our glass of wine. And here we have playing the piano on page 5. So this is really great. But if we were to, let's say, highlight this caption and our figure, Control X to cut it. We still have our wine there, but let's go above our wine and Control V for paste. Let's add that spacing in there. Let's remove this extra line in here to make things look correct. We have our glass of wine there. We've got extra spacing here between the paragraphs that we don't need. We'll clean that all up. But now notice that a glass of wine is figure 1, but it's following figure 2. So what we can do is right click on here and we can update the field. Automatically it become a 1. We can right click on here and we can, I missed the number. We can update the field here. So the numbering will automatically adjust. We don't have to do it manually. And if we come up to our list of figures, we can right click on here and we can say update field, update page numbers only, or update the entire table. Let's update the entire table. And notice that now playing a piano comes first on page 4, followed by a glass of wine on page 5. And it allows us to ensure that when we move things around, we don't lose sight of what page things are on, what order things are presented to us in, and that our numbering is always maintained. Of course, this works really well because we have two figures and it's not too hard to update them. But let's undo those changes. So our list of figures is updated and our numbers for these two figures are back to the way that they were. So I'm going to zoom out again so we can see more. We can see that we have page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4. We have playing the piano, but it's currently listed as figure 2, which comes before figure 1. That's not great. The first time we did this, I manually went to each figure and I updated the numbering. This again, it's okay if you've got two figures, but if you have many and many pages, that sort of defeats the purpose. So there's a way that we can do this much more quickly. So we can hit Control A. So we click on our document somewhere, Control A, it selects everything, and somewhere in our document then we right click and we can choose to update field, and we're going to update the entire table, and we're going to update everything at once. So notice that we now have, if I zoom in, our glass of wine is figure 2, and if I keep scrolling up, figure 1 is playing the piano, and if I scroll all the way back up to the top, the table now here has to also be updated. We're going to update the entire table here, and it's going to update those for us as well. So we can do all of the captions and their numbers by selecting the document and updating those, and then we can go and update the list of figures as well. There you have it. Hope this is useful to you. Stay tuned. We'll have more tips and tricks in time coming forward.